starting with the second video here. Honestly, this should have been my first because, I mean, you sketch before you outline, so I don't know what I was thinking. But we're going to have a little discussion here on sketch pencils, because there's a lot of people out there in the art community, especially the traditional art community, that don't seem to know, like, the scale of pencils. So I have with me my super ultra special, really cheap pencil scale here. So every one of these pencils has a different scale on it, and you can see the little numbers. This one's really worn off, but the rest of these, you can kind of see these. I kind of organized them in a way that they fit. So whenever you get a sketch pencil set, specifically a sketch pencil, these aren't colored pencils, they're all the same. They're all just, dark, drawing and shading pencils. When you get something like this, you're always going to have a bit of a scale between different letters and different numbers, and I don't know if they come with instructions that explain what these mean. As far as I know, they don't, because I think when I got this, I got it and it didn't come with any instruction manual, and I was like, oh, I totally know what these are, and it took me a while to figure out how they worked, but I wanted to go over a quick thing on how they do work, and I made a little thing here to kind of display that. So the pencils have a letter and number range based on the hardness of the lead, and when I say lead, that's actually graphite, it's not lead. It's not real lead. So may as well bring that back. So the numbers indicate the hardness of the graphite in the tip of the pencil, and the harder the graphite is, so that's going to be down here. It's going to start here and it's going to go up into here. That's the harder graphite. It's going to be on the bottom. These are your H's, and I tried to research this. This is the best I could come up with. The H is literally just supposed to mean hard. It just indicates that the lead is harder, and it's going to be lighter in comparison to the other pencils because it's harder. So the reason that the 6H on this is completely worn off is because this is the pencil that I am constantly using for sketches, and this is why when I do my speed arts, you literally can't see crap, because this is such a light pencil that you literally can't see anything, and it's great for sketching because, you can erase it very easily, you can get everything down loosely, but I abuse it more than anything. So then, going up the scale, the further down, hang on, so the lower the number, the softer the lead is in the H scale. The higher the number, the harder the lead. And then the opposite is true for the B, which is the opposite letter. So your scale, you can kind of see it here, but your scale starts at the 6B, which is the darkest lead, and it goes down to the middle, where you have this weird cutoff with HB and F. I'll get to what F is in a minute, and no, it's not just press F to pay respects. It could be that, but, it is a different thing. And then you have your H's, which are the harder leads. So harder basically just means lighter. B, honestly, the only thing I have been able to come up with, this is just what I've always called it, B usually stands for bold, because it's a softer lead, so it's going to be darker. And again, on the scale here, you can see when you've got your 6H pencil, it's very light. You make literally no impact on it because it's such a hard lead that it really can't smudge against the paper the way it's supposed to, so that's a good thing. So it's great for sketching with, getting your light stuff in. This is good for your base. And then your darker leads here, your 6Bs, which are the powerhouses up here, are basically smudge sticks, or you can, they're basically like charcoal. They're very soft, they're very dark, and they make a lot of shading with very little effort. So it is good to have, not all of them. I've actually heard that there are numbers beyond 6B and 6H. I've heard that it goes up to 8. But I do not own those, and you really don't need more than, well, I guess it depends on what you're working on. If you're working on just regular sketching, kind of like what I do, you probably only need a 6H, something in the middle, and then one darker like a B. And you can really range with it yourself. But for professional sketching, you know, professional black and white, I guess, shading sections, it is good, or it is better to have something lighter to start your base on, something in the middle to begin your shading, and then something here to really finalize the areas that are darkest. And then back to that F, this one here in the middle, this is kind of the cutoff, I think, between the H's and the B's. The F, I believe, is supposed to mean fine point, and I think that means it's specifically designed for the sharp areas in a sketch. I'm not 100% sure, but I think F is kind of in the middle between B and H. So it's really not either, but it's both. So it's a fine point. It's designed to be sharpened to a tip. So that is your shading scale. And like I said, this isn't all of them. This is literally just, I think I only have 6B down to, what is this, HB? And then I have a small collection of H's, so you really don't need a whole lot. You can get these basically anywhere. They'll have a set of, I've seen usually about six or seven pencils per case. So this one, I might have gotten it at Hobby Lobby or Michael's somewhere. Honestly, not 100% sure. I don't know why I'm closing it. I'm going to need this in a second. Okay, and now the actual section where I am going to begin sketching something with the wrong pencil. I wanted to go over some tips on how to go about sketching, because this is something that a lot of newbies seem to struggle with more than anything else. I've seen a lot of noobs come in and try to sketch something, and they start their sketch in ways that set them up to fail. So I want to try and curb us away from that, try and get some better points down, and kind of explain there is an easier way to go about it if you just accept that your art is gonna suck and keep going. So let me get a quick base down here real quick, and I'll be back. Alright, and I've kind of got a basic sketch down here. You can barely see it just because, again, I was using the 6H, and if you're not using it very hard on the paper, it's really not going to show up. And that is a good thing, but for speed art, it can be a bit of a pain. So now I wanted to go over a couple of different aspects to how I was able to get this down in such a short time. This literally only took me like 3 minutes. And just explain, you know, how to get better and even quicker about getting your sketch down, because the sketch is not a phase that is supposed to take hours and hours and hours and hours. I know people that do make it that long, but really, sketches don't have to take that long. So the first thing that I want to recommend to new artists or people that are trying to get better at their sketches, don't worry about it being perfect. because that is probably the biggest thing that I see with new artists and new people that are trying to draw something from a reference. They're going to try to draw it in a way that every line is perfect and precise and exactly where it needs to be, and it doesn't come out right, and they're frustrated, and admittedly so, because they can't figure out why the lines aren't matching up. It's like, why isn't it working right? And the point of the fact is, you have to focus on the form and not the specific lines. So what I mean by that, basically, if you can see from this, all of these lines are very, very loose. None of them are tight. None of them are exact. You can see areas, I really can't zoom in well on this, but kind of in the face here, you can see that there's a lot of areas that I went over a couple of times, and I literally just scribbled it down. It's very loose, but you can still see that there's something here. You can see a head, you can see the hair, you can see there's an ear over here, here's the body. So you can tell what the object is, but it's a very loose sketch, and it's not finalized. It's a sketch. That's the point. So, best tips I have for you, when you start sketching something, do not sketch it in, thinking that it's going to be your fine lining, because your fine lining is a totally different process. The sketch is all about getting down the base and getting it down quickly, effortlessly, and just knowing what is going where and where that's going specifically. So, sketch quick, sketch loose. And if you don't know how to draw quick or loose, or if you get caught up in it, there are some techniques in order to get that, to kind of push you away from that, to kind of get you to loosen up a little bit in your sketches. One thing that I have learned is what's called the one-line technique. So the one-line technique is where, when you're drawing, you have to draw the entire thing without ever taking your hand off of the paper. And the reason this helps to loosen up your sketch, not necessarily make it quicker, but to loosen it up, is because you become aware of the fact that you have to put down your specific lines, your important lines, before you put down any of your finalized, smooth-looking lines. You don't have to worry about the lines looking perfect. You just have to have them in the right place. And then something to help get your drawings to be quicker, to make the sketch area quicker. My shadows are really bad here. To make it draw it quicker, one thing that you can do is what's called a time sketch, and there is a cool challenge out there that I have done. If you are a traditional artist, you can get away with it. It is called the One Song Challenge, and it's just like it sounds. You play a song, and you have to do an entire sketch in the time frame of that song, usually based around that song. So you play a song that goes on for 3 minutes, and you try and sketch something. As a traditional artist, you can get away with it much, much easier than a digital, because digital artists, I know, have a lot of problems with the Control-Z and just redoing the same line 8,000 times, which is why I'm not into digital art. This is why I do traditional. So, good techniques to getting your drawings to be looser and quicker: just draw it in a single line, or time yourself. Time yourself to make the sketch in a certain amount of time, because you don't need to spend a lot of time on your sketch. The only reason that you would spend any time on your sketch is if you have a particular section that is detailed that you need to be prepared for before you go into the line art. Because, as soon as you have your sketch down and you go in with your line art, that's it. Once you have your line art down, this is done. You don't have to worry about the sketch. And that's the other thing. No one's going to see your sketch, because as soon as you fine line it and as soon as you color it, the whole section underneath it, all this pencil, this will be gone. Nobody's going to see this. So don't worry about it needing to look perfect, because it's just the frame. So another aspect, and you can kind of see that I cheated over here. I have an arm, I don't have a hand, and this is the next thing that I want to get to. Worry about the hard stuff last. You might have seen me do this a couple of times in my speed draws already, but something that I have ended up doing, and this is just a really great technique that I've learned: when you draw the body, draw the important parts first, the head, the body, the legs, the position of where you're putting everything, but leave the hands and feet for last. You can make a rough estimate, okay, this is an oval shape and we'll have fingers going that way. So you can have a rough idea of where you're going to put your hand later. Do not spend 20 minutes trying to figure out how that freaking hand is going to work, because believe me, it will drive you insane. I've done it. It's horrible. Don't ever do it. Just do the quick sketch, finish everything else, come back to it last, because you can find better references and you have more time to focus on, okay, well, here's the back of the hand, and here's the front, and here's the fingers, and, you know, we'll have a finger going this way, and, you know, then you have more time to finalize it, instead of just sitting and waiting and not knowing where the rest of your body is going to be. So that is a good technique I have learned to making your hands and feet less of a pain in the ass. They're always going to be a pain in the ass, but, you know, it helps you a little bit. Next thing, so another thing that I see a lot of new artists do that is, it's a process. I can agree with everybody, it is a process, and you have to learn and understand how it works before you can really get how it works. If you have sketch tutorial books, if you have any of those how to draw books, or you've seen, like, I don't know, TikToks or whatever on how to sketch a thing, a lot of times you'll see people and they'll do the circle and they'll do a line here and a line here. And most new, why am I doing this in a stupid 6H? Because the camera can't see this. Circle, line, line. Okay, much easier to see. So most people don't seem to know what this is, and they don't know what this means, especially new artists. They just kind of look at it and they go, oh, I have to do that before I can do the rest of this. And then they just completely disregard this and start drawing this, and then they wonder why it doesn't work. So there's a reason that we do this, and I'm about to explain it to you, and it's going to become way, way easier. When you're drawing in shapes, when you draw the body, you have to learn it by breaking it down into shapes. This is a very complicated shape, so I broke it down into a circle for the head and a kind of an ovally shape kind of sticking out this way as the chin. That's just how the character is drawn. So why do I do it with the lines here? If it's a 2D character and it's a stylized 2D character, why go to the lengths of using a weird circle with lines in it? Well, the idea is you want to think spheres, not circles. Because even though it's a 2D character, even though it is a flat, not meant to be three-dimensional character, the way that you're going to be drawing it is in a way that makes you think, it tricks your brain into thinking that it is three-dimensional. Because if you're animating it, you know, you have to know where everything is and know in the space of time where that thing is going to be. So the reason that we do the circle and the lines there is the lines are the point of where the face is. So on this, you can see the line goes down here, and the other line is right here. And what that did, it opened up this whole circle. If it was just a circle, I would have no idea where the hell my face was. I'd just be like, oh, the eye's here, I think, and I think the other eye's here, and maybe the mouth is down here. But that doesn't look quite as good as if I knew that I had an eye here, and the chin starts here, and I had an eye here. See, it makes it much easier in the long run, because what you're doing is you're putting down a three-dimensional line that says, okay, this is where the face splits. This is where one half of the face is versus the other half. And the same thing is true for the horizontal line as well as the vertical. The horizontal line here is my eye line. So, not eyeliner, but the line that shows me where the eyes are. So that is the main reason that we would use a circle that has the weird lines in it. You also notice something that I do that you need to learn to do, because some literally just have one line, straight line. Don't do that. If you're going to draw a sphere in a shape and have a specific direction, this is not going to help you at all. Do not, this is flat. This is a two-dimensional, this will not give you anywhere. You want to put curve on it to, again, cheat your own brain into thinking that this is a three-dimensional object pointing in this direction, because the curve of it shows that it is actually connected to the sphere, and that allows you to believe that it is going this direction. And the sphere here shows me that it's going in this direction. So it's a very quick, easy way, and that is the secret of getting three-dimensional shapes inside of a two-dimensional character and making it look really nice and cool. Because if you're just using the straight circles and flat lines, you're really not going to get the same kind of pop. Alright, and then the last thing here that I want to try and cover before I run out of time, this is I don't know if this is a real saying, but this is what I'm going to use, and it's frame before you fill, and this is, how would I explain this? So, when I say frame before you fill, and this is a sketch thing, most people, when they start sketching, they will start with the details on the top without ever having any idea of what's going on down here. Tip for that, don't do that. I know that a lot of people want to start in like the eyes or the facial region because it's the area that's going to have the most focus, and you can still start there, but before you can start there, what I would recommend is get down your frame before you fill it in. You want your head and the position of your head, you want the spine, you want to know what direction it's going, you want to know your dynamic curve, you know exactly where you're going to put your body. And the reason that you do this first is literally just so that you know when you start here, you're not going to have a character with arms that cut through the page or legs that go through the... I can't tell you how many times I've seen new artists start with the head, not draw the body, and then when they do get to the body, the legs come past the page, and so it just cuts off the entire thing, and it looks weird, and it's not right, and it's, you know, it's very problematic. So frame it first, then go back to your face, because then you have solidified your body type, you have guaranteed that you're going to have a body that's going to fit right there, and you know it's going to fit in that page, so you don't have to worry about it when you go back into it. So you have your rib cage, you'll have a leg going this way, maybe a leg going that way, you have an arm, you have another arm, and then, oh wow, I have my entire body. I guess I can start up here with the eyes. So you have your entire frame that you can go back and fill in later. So, makes life much, much, much easier. I don't know why I didn't bring my kneaded eraser for this. I don't know where it is. No, it's a lie, I do know where it is. Just, I'm lazy, I don't want to get it. We'll deal with eraser shavings for now. It's fine. Nobody can see this little pile over here. It's totally fine. So, that is, I think, the last thing that I had to cover for now. I'll probably go ahead and finish this right here. So yeah, remember that the sketch foundation that you start with is the key, and if you don't have your proportions right from the beginning, when you go into outlining, it's just not going to look right. So yes, this phase is very important. However, it's not quite as detailed and specific as people have it out to be. And then last thing to remember before I finish this up, remember that as a new artist, you're probably going to fail. Your art is probably still going to suck. Suck it up. Deal with it. Because there really is no real failure in artwork. There is succeeding and there is learning. So please go learn. Just draw a million times over. Do the same thing and then completely change the game up and do something totally different. Because every time you do something different, you are learning. Learning is good. So that is all I have for you guys today. I'll be back with another tutorial at some point. I'm feeling a lot better about my tutorials and I'm feeling a little more confident, so we will see where that goes. So, thank you!